Okay, so let's be honest for a second. I think we all deal with those never-ending to-do lists. You know what I'm talking about. The lists that feel like they grow longer every single minute.
Yeah, sure.
But wouldn't it be great if there was like a better way to get things done? Like, what if instead of just reacting to every little urgent thing that pops up, we could prioritize and actually get to the tasks that truly matter?
You're so right. That feeling of urgency all the time can be so overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, it's just not very productive.
Yeah.
That's where something called the Eisenhower Matrix comes in. Basically, it helps you sort through all the chaos
Okay.
and focus your energy on what will really make a difference.
The Eisenhower Matrix? Is that like some sort of top secret productivity method named after the general?
Oh, you're not too far off. It's actually credited to Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Okay.
This is a guy who really knew how to handle tough situations. I mean, he was a 5-star general
Wow.
and the President of the United States.
Okay, well, that's impressive. I mean, if it worked for him, I'm definitely interested.
The whole idea behind this matrix is pretty simple but powerful. There's a quote from Eisenhower himself that sums it up.
Okay.
I have two kinds of problems, the urgent and the important. The urgent are not important, and the important are never urgent.
Wait a minute. How can something be urgent but not important? That just sounds kind of strange.
I know, right? It sounds counterintuitive, but think about it like this.
Okay.
Imagine a pipe bursts in your house.
Uh-oh.
That's definitely urgent.
Oh, yeah.
You can't ignore it, and if you wait to do something, you could end up with some serious damage. But when you think about it, in the big picture of your life, is a burst pipe truly important?
I guess I see what you mean. I mean, fixing it prevents damage right now, but it doesn't necessarily help me reach, my long-term goals or anything.
Exactly. Now compare that to something like building your professional network, going to industry events, connecting with people in your field that might not feel super urgent today. But over time, those connections can open doors to some amazing opportunities.
Yeah.
It's all about investing in your future success, not just reacting to whatever crisis comes up.
So are you saying it's easy to get caught up in all those urgent things and then forget about the stuff that's actually important for the long run?
You got it. And that's where the Eisenhower Matrix comes in.
Yeah.
It helps us break out of that cycle by giving us a way to see and categorize our tasks so we can choose what to focus on.
All right, I'm with you so far. But how does this matrix actually work in real life? We have this urgent versus important idea, but how do we use it every day?
Okay, so picture a simple grid, like a graph. You've got two axes, one for urgency and one for importance. And these axes cross to make 4 boxes, or quadrants.
Okay.
It's like a visual map for your to-do list.
Okay, so I'm imagining like a giant X with 4 boxes. Each one's different depending on how urgent and how important the stuff in it is. So what happens next?
Let's start with quadrant 1, which we call the do quadrant. This is where you put things that are both urgent and important, your top priorities.
Got it.
The things that need your attention right away. Like, if you could only do one thing today, what would it be?
That makes sense.
That's your quadrant 1 task.
So it's kind of a mix of like dealing with crises, but also taking strategic action, stuff that can't wait or be handed off to someone else.
Right. Think of it like you get an email from a client and they need something done by the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's urgent because of the deadline. But it's also important because keeping your clients happy is like essential for your business.
For sure.
It's a perfect example of a quadrant 1 task.
Got it. But what about those things that are important, but maybe not so time sensitive? Where do they fit in?
That's quadrant 2, the schedule quadrant.
Okay.
This is for the stuff that's crucial for your big goals, but there's no fire to put out right this minute. Like learning a new skill, going to a networking event, or working on a personal project you've been putting off.
Oh, so this is where those, I should really do that someday, goals finally have a place to live.
Exactly. And the key here is to schedule time for these things. Don't let them get lost in the daily rush. Block out specific times on your calendar and treat them like important appointments.
That makes a lot of sense. It takes them from just, vague ideas to real actions.
Right.
So we've got do and schedule. What about the stuff that's urgent, but maybe not so critical in the long run?
Okay, that brings us to quadrant 3, the delegate quadrant. This is where you put those tasks that need to be taken care of, but maybe they don't align perfectly with your top priorities.
Okay.
Or maybe they don't require your specific skills.
So things like scheduling meetings, making travel arrangements, or dealing with paperwork, things that need to get done, but maybe someone else could handle.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
And delegating effectively, it frees up your time and your mental energy.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can focus on those high-impact activities in Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 2. Plus, it gives your team a chance to learn and grow.
Delegation, simple idea, but I'll admit sometimes I have trouble letting go of things. So we've got do, schedule, and delegate. What's left? The procrastinate quadrant.
Not quite.
Yeah.
That brings us to Quadrant 4, the delete quadrant. This is where we say goodbye to tasks that are neither urgent nor important.
Okay.
These are the things that waste your time and clutter up your mind and your to-do list, but they don't actually help you achieve your goals.
So is this where, like, my late-night online shopping sprees belong?
Maybe.
Or those times I go down an internet rabbit hole instead of doing actual work?
Exactly. And think about those meetings where nothing gets decided, or those administrative tasks that could be simplified or just eliminated completely.
Just thinking about clearing out all that mental clutter already makes me feel a little lighter, honestly. So there we have it, our 4 quadrants: do, schedule, delegate, and delete.
Exactly.
Sounds pretty simple, right?
On paper, yeah. But the real trick is how you use it in real life, and that's where some prioritization tips can really help.
Ooh, now you're talking. I am all about making this process as easy and effective as possible.
Me too. And the first tip is all about using visual organization, color coding.
Color coding. I love that. It's like bringing back my childhood while also getting things done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's simple, but really effective. Just give each quadrant its own color. Like you could use green for do, yellow for schedule, blue for delegate, and red for delete.
So as I'm looking at my to-do list, I can just mark each item with this color depending on which quadrant it belongs to.
Right.
That way I've got a clear visual order of what needs my attention now.
Exactly. And, this isn't just about making things look nice.
Oh.
It actually uses the way our brains work. Our brains are wired to respond to visual cues. Think about traffic lights. Red means stop, green means go.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, by using colors on our to-do list, we're kind of creating a similar system for our brains. We're instantly drawn to those high-priority green tasks, and the red ones kind of fade into the background.
Wow, that's so interesting. It's like hacking our brains to stay focused. I love it.
It's all about working smarter, not harder, right? And speaking of smart strategies, the next tip is about preventing overwhelm. Stick to 10 tasks per quadrant.
Okay, I can see how that would help. Because even with the color coding, if you have like 50 things crammed into each box, it's still going to feel pretty overwhelming.
Exactly. The goal is to break things down into manageable chunks.
Yeah.
By limiting each quadrant to 10 items, you're forced to prioritize even within your priorities.
So instead of just dumping everything that's important but not urgent into quadrant 2, I'm actually taking the time to rank those tasks and figure out the top 10 that deserve my attention.
You got it. And if you really do have more than 10 truly important tasks in one quadrant, you can always create multiple matrices. You could have one for work stuff, one for personal stuff, or even break down big projects into smaller matrices.
That makes sense. It's like taking a huge, scary goal and turning it into smaller steps, much less intimidating.
Exactly. And that leads us to our next tip, which builds on that idea. Make separate to-do lists for your personal and professional life.
Oh, tell me about it. It feels like those lines get blurrier every day. Work stress spills into our free time, and vice versa.
You're so right. And it's important to remember that work and personal stuff often have different timelines, different resources, even different ways of getting things done.
That's true.
By separating them out, you can approach each one with the right mindset and focus.
I like that. One Eisenhower Matrix for conquering the work week and another for planning fun stuff or tackling that home project I've been putting off.
Right. And think about how much clearer your thinking will be. When you're at work, you can focus on your work goals, knowing your personal stuff is waiting for you on its own list.
Yeah.
And when you're off the clock, you can relax without feeling like you're forgetting something for work.
It's like giving each part of my life its own mental space, instead of everything being jumbled together. I already feel calmer just thinking about it.
I know, right? Okay, last tip. This one's about building momentum and starting off strong. Eliminate before you prioritize.
Okay, interesting. Does that mean tackling the delete quadrant first?
You got it. The idea is to clear out the clutter before you even start deciding what's due, schedule, or delegate.
It's like cleaning your desk before you start a big project. You make a nice clear space that's like inviting you to focus and be productive.
Exactly. And think about how satisfying it is to get rid of all that unnecessary stuff. It's a small win, but it sets the tone for the whole process.
Yeah.
You've freed up space in your mind, and you've already got some momentum going. So you're more likely to tackle those remaining tasks with energy and a clear head.
I'm all about starting with a win. It's like that feeling you get when you cross something off your to-do list, even before you've really started working.
Exactly. Now, the articles you shared, they mentioned something really interesting about eliminating tasks.
Oh.
They talk about how we often spend a lot of time at work on what they call work about work.
Work about work. I don't think I've heard that before. What does that even mean?
It's like all the tasks that are related to work, but they don't actually contribute to the output of work. Like attending those status meetings where nothing really gets decided, or spending hours emailing back and forth about approvals that could have been done with a quick conversation.
Ugh, yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. They're like little black holes that suck up time and energy, but you don't actually make any real progress.
Exactly. And the beauty of eliminating before you prioritize is that it makes you look at each task and ask, is this truly necessary? Does it get me closer to my goals? Or is it just busy work?
So it's not just about getting rid of distractions, but about really being intentional about how we use our time and energy at work.
Absolutely. And when we get rid of those low-value tasks, we free up more time and energy for the stuff that really matters.
Okay, I am officially ready to put all this into practice. We've got our quadrants, our prioritization tips. Let's get into some real-life examples and see how this Eisenhower Matrix actually plays out.
I'm game. Let's grab some examples from your sources and see how they fit into this framework.
Okay, so let's play a little game I like to call Quadrant Detective.
Ooh, I like it.
I'm ready to tackle some real-life scenarios and figure out where each task would land on the Eisenhower Matrix.
I'm game. Let's do it.
All right, so you know from my notes that I'm working on launching a new website for my business.
Yes.
Where would that task fit in?
Okay, let's see. Launching a website, that's definitely important for growth,
Right.
but it's not an immediate crisis.
Yeah, I still have a few weeks before the planned launch.
So I'd say it falls into quadrant 2, schedule.
Okay, that makes sense. It's strategic, it aligns with those long-term goals,
Yeah.
but it's not like I have to drop everything and do it this very second.
Exactly. It definitely requires dedicated time and planning, but it's not a hair-on-fire situation.
Perfect. Okay, how about this scenario? You have a report due to your boss by the end of the day.
Okay, got
It
it.
involves like compiling data, analyzing trends, and summarizing all your findings. Where does that one land?
That sounds like a classic quadrant 1 due task.
Okay.
It's urgent because of that deadline,
All right.
and it's important because it's directly tied to your job responsibilities.
Makes sense. No time to delegate or delay on that one. Okay, new scenario. You get an email invitation to a webinar about a new social media marketing strategy. Sounds interesting, but you're not sure if it's really relevant to what you're doing right now.
That's a tough one. That could fall into either quadrant 2, schedule, or quadrant 4, delete.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it all depends on how valuable you think the information will be and if it's connected to your goals.
Okay, so how do I decide whether to attend the webinar or just hit delete?
Well, ask yourself a few questions. First, how long is the webinar?
Okay.
Second, is the topic something you've been wanting to learn more about? And third, will the information they're sharing actually help you reach your goals or improve your skills? If it's mostly yes to those questions, then it might be worth scheduling.
Yeah.
But if you're short on time or the topic just isn't a good fit, feel free to skip it.
I like that. So it's about being choosy, even with those scheduled tasks, and making sure they're contributing to my big picture goals.
Exactly.
Okay, last scenario. You have a pile of receipts that needs to be organized for your tax preparer. Not the most exciting task, but it's got to get done eventually.
It's like a classic quadrant 3, delegate. It needs to be done, but it doesn't need your special skills. You could easily have a virtual assistant take care of that, or even a friend who's good with organization.
That's a good point. So delegating isn't just for huge projects.
Right.
It can also be for those smaller, tedious tasks that can really slow you down.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this, but like with any new system, the hardest part is actually using it consistently.
You're telling me. Knowing the quadrants is just the first step. The real magic is using this matrix to guide your decisions and actions every day. And that's where those prioritization tips we talked about earlier come in.
Right, like that color coding technique. I'm a very visual person, so I think that would really work for me. But honestly, that idea of only having 10 tasks per quadrant feels a little intimidating. What if I have way more than 10 important things in one quadrant?
I hear you. Remember, those tips are more like guidelines, not strict rules.
Okay.
That 10-task limit is just meant to help you be more picky and really decide what's most important within each category. But if you genuinely have more than 10 crucial tasks in one quadrant, you can always adjust the number or make multiple matrices.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. It's good to know there's some flexibility in the system. And I really like that tip about separate to-do lists for work and personal life. I'm constantly trying to juggle both in my head, which just makes me feel overwhelmed.
It's like trying to mix oil and water, right? Separating those areas can make a huge difference in how clear your thinking is and how productive you can be. Imagine this, you're at work, laser focused on a quadrant 1 task, like finishing that important report we talked about.
Okay, yeah.
Suddenly, you remember you need to book a doctor's appointment.
I know that feeling. My brain does a complete 180 and I lose all focus on what I was doing.
Exactly. But if you have separate to-do lists, you can just jot down book doctor's appointment on your personal list and go right back to that work task. You know you'll deal with the personal stuff later. It prevents those mental interruptions and helps you stay present, whether you're at work or at home.
I love that. It's like giving each part of my life its own designated space. No more mental clutter.
Exactly. And the great thing about the Eisenhower Matrix is that it can be used for all sorts of things. You could even make a matrix just for a specific project or goal.
So it's not just for everyday tasks, but also for thinking strategically about how I spend my time and energy in every area of my life.
You got it. It's about being intentional with your actions and making sure you're spending your time on things that truly matter.
Okay, I'm curious about that tip to eliminate before you prioritize. Do you always suggest tackling the delete quadrant first? Sometimes I feel like I need to figure out my top priorities before I can decide what to eliminate.
That's a great point, and it doesn't always have to be linear. Sometimes figuring out what's really important can help you see which tasks are just not worth your time. It's about finding what works for you and how your brain likes to process things.
Okay, so it's more of a fluid thing, not a set of strict rules. That makes it seem less scary to actually try it out.
Exactly. And remember, the goal isn't to reach some mythical level of perfect productivity.
Oh, good.
It's about making progress one step at a time.
Right.
Start with those small changes like color coding the 10-task limit or separating work and personal and see what happens. You might be surprised at the difference it makes.
It's like that saying, small hinges swing big doors. Even little tweaks can have a big impact on how productive and happy we are.
Absolutely. And remember, the power of the Eisenhower Matrix is that it helps us see the difference between motion and action.
Motion versus action. What do you mean by that?
It's easy to get caught up in feeling busy, like we're in constant motion, answering emails, going to meetings, checking things off our list. But are those activities really helping us reach our goals? Are we taking real action that matches our priorities and what we believe in?
I see what you mean. We can easily mistake busy work for actual progress. The Eisenhower Matrix helps us cut through all that noise and focus on the things that will truly make a difference.
You got it. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about how to spot those work tasks. Remember, those are the things that feel work-related but don't actually contribute to the final result.
Oh yes, those sneaky little time wasters, like those endless email chains or meetings that could have been a 5-minute phone call.
Right. And one of the biggest culprits is the perfectionism trap. We spend hours tweaking a presentation or a report trying to make it perfect, when that level of detail often isn't necessary and ends up wasting time.
Ugh, that's me sometimes. I get so caught up in the details that I lose sight of the big picture.
It happens to the best of us. And the Eisenhower Matrix helps us overcome that by asking, is this level of detail really needed to get the job done? If not, it's time to move on.
That's a great reminder. It's about efficiency, not just being busy for the sake of it.
Exactly. Another area where work about work pops up is in how we communicate. Do you ever find yourself writing these long, detailed emails when a quick phone call would be much more effective?
All the time. I feel like I'm writing a novel when a simple bullet point list would do.
It's a trap we all fall into. And the Eisenhower Matrix can help us be more mindful of our communication. It encourages us to pick the best and fastest way to connect, whether it's a quick email, a phone call, a face-to-face chat, or even just a text.
So true. It's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Now, let's talk about those things we do that seem harmless, but can turn into work about work, if we're not careful. Like scrolling through social media during work hours.
Oh boy, do I know about that one. It starts with a quick check for industry news, and the next thing you know, an hour has vanished down a rabbit hole of funny videos and internet arguments.
It's so easy to get sucked in, isn't it?
Hmm.
And while staying informed and taking breaks is important,
Yes.
it's crucial to be aware of how much time we're spending on those things and how it's impacting our work.
So it's about setting boundaries and being intentional with our time, even when it's something that seems harmless.
Exactly. And the Eisenhower Matrix can actually help us with that.
Yeah.
We can use it to categorize these activities and give them specific time slots instead of letting them take over our whole workday.
I like that. It's about taking control instead of letting those distractions control us.
Exactly. Now let's take a look at another place where work about work can hide our systems and processes. Are there any tasks or procedures you do that feel way too complicated or time-consuming?
You know what? I've been meaning to streamline my invoicing system. Right now, it involves a lot of manual data entry, which takes forever and leads to errors.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
If you could automate that process, you'd save so much time and reduce the risk of mistakes.
You're right. Sometimes we get so used to doing things a certain way that we don't even realize there might be a better, faster way.
Exactly. The Eisenhower Matrix encourages us to look at our systems and processes and see if there's a way to improve them. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
I love that. It's about always looking for ways to optimize our workflow and eliminate those unnecessary steps.
Okay, let's circle back to those prioritization tips. We talked about separate to-do lists for work and personal life.
Yes,
But what if you work from home or those lines are blurred anyway?
that's me. I work from home, so those boundaries can be tough. I'm often juggling work, chores, and family stuff all at the same time.
In those cases, it's even more important to set clear boundaries and have systems in place to manage your time and attention. You could try setting up a dedicated workspace, sticking to specific work hours, or using different devices for work and personal stuff.
I like those ideas. It's
Yeah.
all about creating those visual and mental cues to help us stay focused and prevent those different areas from bleeding into each other.
Right. And it's not about achieving some perfect balance, which is impossible.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you in your specific situation.
So true. Okay, what about the color coding technique? I'm definitely a visual learner, so I think that could be really helpful for me. How do you see me using it in my workflow?
Well, if you're a fan of digital to-do lists, you could easily assign different colors to each quadrant within your app. Or you could go old school and use colored sticky notes on a whiteboard.
I like both of those ideas. But it's not just about making things look pretty, right? It's about using those visual cues to help my brain quickly recognize the most urgent and important tasks.
Exactly. It's like giving your brain a little extra boost to stay on track.
I love it. Okay, now let's revisit that 10 task limit. I know I mentioned feeling a bit restricted by that number.
I remember.
What if we brainstorm some ways to handle those quadrants that might have more than 10 important tasks?
Absolutely. One strategy is to break down those bigger quadrants into smaller categories.
Okay.
So within your quadrant 2, schedule, you could make separate lists for work tasks, personal development goals, and things you want to do around the house.
Oh, that's smart. It's like creating mini categories within the bigger categories, right?
Exactly. It helps you prioritize within each area. Another approach is to use a rolling 10 task list. So as you complete things, you add new ones from your master to-do list.
Okay.
This way, the number stays manageable and you're constantly updating it.
I like that too. It keeps things fresh and prevents me from feeling overwhelmed by an endless list of to-dos.
And it's important to review and update your Eisenhower Matrix regularly. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. Your priorities change, life throws curveballs.
Definitely.
You need to adjust your matrix accordingly.
How often do you suggest reviewing and updating it?
It really depends on your individual needs and how fast-paced your life is. Some people review daily, others weekly or even monthly. Find what works for you and helps you stay on top of things.
I like that flexibility. It's about making the system work for me, not the other way around.
Exactly. Now let's talk about those pesky quadrant 4 delete tasks. They can sneak into our lives without us even realizing it.
Oh, I know. Sometimes I catch myself scrolling through social media or reading news articles that have absolutely nothing to do with my work or my goals.
We've all been there. The key is to be aware of those patterns and consciously choose to stop doing things that aren't serving us.
So it's about taking back control of our time and attention.
Exactly. Now, let's dive into some real-life work-about-work tasks that you might encounter. I know you manage your own social media marketing. Do you ever spend too much time trying to write the perfect Instagram caption or responding to every comment?
Oh, absolutely. I can totally get lost in those details and lose track of the bigger picture.
That's a common trap for entrepreneurs and content creators. The Eisenhower Matrix helps us be more strategic with social media by encouraging us to focus on the things that actually get results, creating great content, connecting with our audience, and using data to track our progress.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
You got it. Now let's talk about another area where work about work loves to hide email. Do you ever spend hours each day replying to emails that could have been dealt with more efficiently?
My inbox can be a black hole, that's for sure. I often spend way too much time on email.
The Eisenhower Matrix can help us with that too. It encourages us to quickly sort through our messages and deal with the urgent ones first.
Right.
And we can use things like filters, labels, and even pre-written responses to streamline our communication and spend less time on email overall.
Those are some great tips. I'm going to start using those right away.
And remember, the Eisenhower Matrix is a tool, not a miracle worker. There will be days when you still feel overwhelmed or like you're falling behind. It's about progress, not perfection.
That's good to hear. It's easy to get caught up in that idea of being perfectly productive and then get discouraged when things don't go as planned.
Exactly. Be kind to yourself, learn from those tough days, and keep tweaking your systems until you find what works for you.
I like that. It's about embracing the process, not just focusing on the end result.
Now let's talk about how the Eisenhower Matrix can help you reach those big, long-term goals. It's not just for managing your day-to-day, it's also a framework for planning your future.
Okay, that's interesting. How do we use it for bigger picture planning?
Start by identifying your long-term goals, both for your work and your personal life.
Okay.
Then, use the Eisenhower Matrix to break those goals down into smaller, more manageable steps. Those steps become your tasks, and you can put them into those 4 quadrants.
So instead of just focusing on what I need to do today, I'm also thinking about how my actions today are contributing to my big dreams.
You got it. It's about aligning your everyday actions with your overall vision and using the matrix as a roadmap to get there.
I love that. It's like having a GPS for my life.
Speaking of which, we've got to talk about delegating effectively. I know you mentioned sometimes struggling with letting go of control.
Oh, it's a constant battle. It's hard to trust others to handle things that I'm used to doing myself.
I get it. It's tough. But delegating is so important if you want to achieve more and free up your time for the really important stuff. The key is to clearly explain what you need, give them the resources they need,
Okay.
and then trust them to do it.
I think I often hold back on delegating because I'm afraid it won't be done my way.
That's a common fear.
Yeah.
But remember, delegating isn't about micromanaging or expecting people to do things exactly like you would. It's about giving them the power to use their skills and be creative to get the job done.
That's a good point. It's about letting go of that need for perfection and being open to different ways of thinking and doing things.
Right. Now, how can we get better at identifying those quadrant 3 delegate tasks? It can be hard to tell what we should delegate and what we should do ourselves.
I agree. I'm always second-guessing myself, wondering if I should delegate a task or just do it myself to save time and hassle.
Here's a simple trick.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself these questions. 1, does this task need my specific skills?
Okay.
2, is it a core part what I'm responsible for at work?
Okay.
And 3, could someone else do it just as well, or maybe even better? If the answer to most of those is no, then it's probably a good candidate for delegating.
That makes a lot of sense. I think I tend to overestimate how important my own role is in some tasks.
It's a common trap.
Yeah.
But remember, delegating is all about using your team's strengths and giving yourself more time and energy for the things that truly require your special skills.
It's about working smarter, not harder. I'm starting to sound like a broken record. Haha.
It's a great mantra. Now, we need to talk about setting boundaries between work life and personal life. It's so hard in today's world where we're always connected and bombarded with information.
Tell me about it. I catch myself checking work emails late at night or feeling guilty if I don't answer a message right away.
It's like we're expected to be on all the time.
Yeah.
But it's crucial to create clear boundaries and make sure your colleagues, clients, and family know about them.
So what are some practical ways to set those boundaries?
Well, you could set specific work hours and stick to them as much as possible.
Okay.
Create separate workspaces, both physical and digital, so you can mentally shift between work mode and personal mode.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And don't be afraid to disconnect from technology when you're not working. Turn off those notifications, step away from your phone and computer, and give yourself a chance to recharge.
I love that. I think I often feel like I need to be constantly available and responsive, even when I'm technically off.
It's the tough habit to break, but you have the right to set boundaries and prioritize your well-being.
It's so true. It's about taking control of my time and energy and not letting them be controlled by everyone else's demands.
Exactly. Now let's talk about those quadrant one do tasks that often feel the most urgent and stressful. Any tips for managing those?
Oh, yes, please. Those can be the most overwhelming.
One thing you can try is breaking those big tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps. That can make them feel less scary and help you make progress more quickly.
That's a good idea. I often get so overwhelmed by how big a task is that I just end up procrastinating.
And try to focus on one task at a time instead of trying to juggle multiple things. That will help you stay focused and avoid feeling like you're drowning in to-dos.
That's a good reminder. I'm definitely a multitasker, but I know it often makes me less productive in the end.
Okay, how about time boxing? Have you heard of that?
I have, but I've never actually tried it. What's the best way to use it?
Basically, you give yourself a specific amount of time to work on a task, and you stick to it.
Okay.
So let's say you need to write a report that will take about 2 hours. You block out 2 hours on your calendar just for that task, and you don't schedule any other meetings or commitments during that time.
I like that. It's like creating a dedicated space for focused work with no distractions allowed.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about prioritizing. This means being really honest about which tasks are truly important and which ones can wait, be delegated, or even just be eliminated altogether.
This is where I struggle. I tend to feel like everything is important and urgent.
It's a common problem,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't do everything, and that's okay. Focus on the tasks that will make the biggest impact and let go of the rest.
That's a good point. It's about being strategic and making sure my actions are aligned with my goals.
And don't forget about breaks. It might seem counterintuitive, but taking regular breaks can actually make you more productive and more creative.
I know I should take breaks, but I always feel guilty stepping away from my work, especially when I'm under pressure.
I understand that feeling. But breaks are an investment in your well-being and your productivity. When you take a break and come back refreshed, you can focus better and do your best work.
It's about giving my brain a chance to rest and reset so I can come back stronger.
You got it. And here's another important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate your wins. It's easy to get caught up in the daily grind and forget to appreciate what we've accomplished.
I'm so guilty of that. I finish one task and immediately move on to the next without even taking a moment to acknowledge what I just did.
Celebrating your wins, even the small ones, keeps you motivated and reinforces good habits. You deserve to acknowledge your hard work and give yourself credit.
That's so true. It's about being kind to myself and recognizing my efforts. Okay, let's talk about procrastination. I think we all struggle with that sometimes, and it can really get in the way of achieving our goals. Any tips?
Absolutely. One thing that helps is figuring out what triggers your procrastination. What are the situations or tasks that make you want to put things off? Once you know your triggers, you can start to find ways to deal with them.
I think I often procrastinate when a task feels overwhelming or unpleasant. It's like my brain just wants to avoid it.
That's a common one. Sometimes breaking those big, intimidating tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps can make them feel less overwhelming and help you get started.
I like that. It's like tricking my brain into thinking it's not such a big deal.
Exactly. Now let's talk about self-care. This is often neglected, but it's so important for maintaining our energy and focus.
I know self-care is crucial, but I often struggle to find time for it, especially when I'm feeling busy and stressed.
I get it. We all feel that way sometimes. But self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. When we take care of ourselves, we can handle the demands of work and life much better.
That's a good reminder. It's about investing in myself so I can be my best self.
You got it. And self-care doesn't have to be complicated. It could be getting enough sleep, eating healthy food, exercising, spending time in nature, practicing mindfulness, or doing hobbies you enjoy.
It's about finding those things that help me recharge and feel good, both physically and mentally.
Exactly. And don't forget to seek support when you need it. You don't have to do everything alone.
That's true.
We all have people in our lives who can offer encouragement, guidance, and a helping hand when we're feeling overwhelmed.
I appreciate you saying that. I often try to do everything myself, even when it's too much.
I understand. But remember, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It actually takes strength to admit you need support. And there are people who care about you and want to see you succeed. don't be afraid to reach out.
You're right. I think I often feel like I need to have all the answers and that asking for help is like admitting defeat.
That's a common feeling, but it's not true.
Huh.
We're all human, we all make mistakes, and we all need help sometimes. Asking for help can be the smartest and most effective way to overcome challenges and achieve our goals.
Thank you for that perspective. I'm definitely going to try to be more open to asking for help when I need it.
That's great to hear. And remember, be flexible and adaptable. The Eisenhower Matrix is a great tool, but it's not a rigid system. Life is constantly changing, and your priorities will change too. Be willing to adjust your approach as needed.
That's a good reminder. I think I can get so focused on following the rules that I forget to be flexible and adapt to new situations.
It's about finding what works for you, not trying to fit into some perfect mold.
I like that. It's about being empowered to make choices that align with my values and my goals.
Speaking of choices, let's talk about those unexpected interruptions that always seem to pop up. No matter how well we plan, life throws curveballs.
Tell me about it. It seems like every time I sit down to focus, something comes up that needs my immediate attention.
It's the nature of life. One way to deal with that is to build some buffer time into your schedule for those unexpected things. Maybe block off some time each day for dealing with those unplanned tasks, or just leave some empty space in your calendar so you can be flexible.
I like that. I tend to schedule my day down to the minute, which just makes me feel stressed when things inevitably go off track.
It's all about creating that wiggle room. And don't be afraid to say no to requests that don't align with your priorities or would throw you off schedule.
I struggle with that one. I feel obligated to say yes to everything, even when I know I don't have the time or energy.
You're not alone. But remember, your time and energy are valuable, and you have the right to protect them. Saying no gracefully is a superpower.
It's about setting boundaries and putting my own needs and priorities first, and it's okay to do that.
That's essential. Now, let's talk about reflecting on your progress and making adjustments as needed. The Eisenhower Matrix isn't a static thing, it's a process.
Okay.
Take some time each week or maybe each month to look back at what you've accomplished, see where you can improve, and tweak your systems.
I like that. It's about constant growth and improvement.
Exactly. It's easy to get lost in the day-to-day and forget to take a step back.
Oh, definitely.
But that big picture view is so important. It's all about being intentional and proactive, not reactive and overwhelmed.
I love that. It's about taking control of my time and my life and not letting them control me.
You're getting it. Now let's talk about those important but not urgent tasks. These are the ones that often get neglected because they don't have a pressing deadline or immediate consequences.
Oh, I know those well. I always tell myself I'll get to them someday, but then someday never seems to come.
It's so easy for them to slip through the cracks. One way to make sure they get done is to actually schedule them in your calendar, just like any other important appointment.
That's a good idea. I think I often treat them as optional, which is why they never make it to the top of my to-do list.
It's all about shifting your mindset and treating them with the respect they deserve. Another tip is to break those big tasks down into smaller, more manageable steps.
That's helpful. I think I get intimidated by how big those tasks seem, and that's why I put them off.
And don't forget to be mindful of your energy levels. We all have times a day when we're more productive and focused. When do you feel most alert and energized?
I'm definitely a morning person. My brain is firing on all cylinders in the early hours.
That's great to know. Try to schedule your most challenging tasks for those peak productivity times, and save the easier tasks for when your energy is a bit lower.
It's about working with my body's natural rhythms instead of trying to fight them.
You got it. And don't underestimate the power of a supportive environment. This could mean creating a dedicated workspace, setting boundaries with coworkers and family, or just taking steps to minimize distractions and create a sense of calm.
I love that. I think I often try to work in environments that are not conducive to productivity, and then I wonder why I feel scattered and frustrated.
It's all about setting yourself up for success. Now let's tackle those urgent but not important tasks. These are the ones that can really throw a wrench in our day, even though they're not crucial to our goals.
Oh, I know those well. They're the ultimate time wasters.
They are sneaky. Whenever possible, try to delegate those tasks to someone else.
I agree, but I struggle with delegation.
The trick is to figure out which tasks can be handled by someone else without compromising quality. Once you've done that, be clear about what you need, give them the tools they need to succeed, and trust them to get it done.
That's good advice. I think I hesitate to delegate because I worry that it won't be done exactly the way I would do it.
That's a common concern. But remember, Delegation isn't about micromanaging. It's about empowering others to use their skills and come up with their own solutions.
It's about embracing different perspectives and ways of doing things.
Exactly. And sometimes the best way to handle those urgent but not important tasks is to just say no.
I know, but it's so hard sometimes. It's like I feel obligated to say yes to everything, even when I'm already swamped.
It's a common struggle. But remember, you have the right to protect your time and energy. Every time you say yes to something that isn't truly important, you're saying no to something else that might actually help you achieve your goals.
That's a great way to think about it. It's like there's an opportunity cost to every decision we make.
Exactly. Speaking of goals, you mentioned wanting to start a podcast. Where does that fit into your Eisenhower Matrix?
Well, starting a podcast is definitely a big goal of mine. I'm really passionate about sharing knowledge and connecting with people, but it's not something that needs to happen this very minute. So I'd probably put it in quadrant 2, schedule.
That sounds like a good fit.
Uh-huh.
It takes a lot of planning and effort, but it doesn't have that same sense of urgency as those quadrant 1 tasks.
Exactly. And I can already see how the Eisenhower Matrix would help me break down that big goal into smaller, more manageable steps.
You got it. You could create a whole separate matrix just for launching your podcast with tasks like researching equipment, brainstorming episode topics, and figuring out your marketing strategy.
I love that idea. It's like having a mini roadmap for each goal. Okay, switching gears for a second. You know how I mentioned feeling overwhelmed by all the information I consume every day?
Yes, you mentioned feeling bombarded with news, social media, and industry reports. It's a lot to process.
It really is. Do you have any advice for managing that feeling of information overload?
You know, the Eisenhower Matrix can actually help you with that too.
Really?
Think of each piece of information as a task and use those same principles of urgency and importance. Ask yourself, is this information essential for my work or my personal life? Does it require me to take action right now? Or can I save it for later or even just ignore it completely?
That's a great way to look at it. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information, I can be more intentional about what I choose to consume.
Exactly. It's
Wow.
not about disconnecting from the world or ignoring important stuff. It's about finding a way to filter out the noise and focus on what truly matters. And don't forget about being mindful of your energy levels throughout the day. You mentioned being a morning person. Try to schedule your most demanding tasks for those times when you're feeling most alert and focused.
You know, I've noticed that I'm much more productive in the mornings. I'm going to start planning my day around that. Okay, wow, we covered so much today.
We did. It's a lot to take in. But the main thing to remember is this. The Eisenhower Matrix is not about being perfectly productive. It's a tool that can help you make conscious choices, prioritize what truly matters, and let go of the rest.
And that freedom to choose what to focus on is really empowering.
It is. So as you go about your day, remember what we've talked about. Apply those principles of urgency and importance and see how it changes not just your to-do list, but your whole approach to work and life.
It's not about reaching some finish line. It's about the journey of becoming more intentional and focused.
And remember, be kind to yourself, celebrate your wins, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us today on The Deep Dive. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a new topic. Until then, stay curious and keep learning.